Yes, and it has begun. Anyways, so hi and welcome to all our viewers. My name is Vishak. You can call me Viz, and I have Eric with me. We are going to be hosting this webinar series called Musings at the Edge of Consciousness. And that'll kind of unravel on its own as you get into the series and hear what we have to say. Um, just to give you a little insight into me, um, I am a human being, obviously. I mean, in this day and age with AI and all, one cannot be too sure, right? So, yes, I am a human being. I have a lot of opinions, perspectives, a lot of things that I have seen and learned in the last 40, 45 odd years. And a lot of those are around meanderings with Eric and various friends. And, it's kind of got reached a high time where it feels like, we need to kind of put these thoughts out there and see if, any of you resonate with them, if you have any opinions, if you have any counterfactuals, anything of that sort, we are kind of here to explore all of that. And having said that, I'll pass it on to Eric. Eric, please let us know a little bit about yourself and maybe even why we started, thinking about this entire series. With you.
Sure. So I'm Eric, coming to you from an undisclosed location in Virginia. Uh, this is a photograph I took in the background for a little atmosphere in the town that I'm in. And so I will introduce myself briefly, and I'll also explain the connection between me and Vishak, how we met. So um, I'm from the United States. I lived outside of the United States about 20 years. I spent most of that time in India. I've been a traveler and a teacher, and I've done various different jobs in my life, different roles, but not a lot of working. I've been unable to work most of my adult life because of disability. And we will be getting into that. So I'm going to keep my own introduction brief because I feel like throughout the series I'll be introducing myself slowly in little parts, in little particles as needed, as needed. Uh, and so I met Vishak when I was doing an Ayurvedic treatment in his town in Kerala, India, in the south. And we knew each other for a couple of years, didn't we? Continuously,
Yeah.
because I was there for almost 4 years continuous. It was a very serious treatment that I was into. And so we really got to spend some time together, got to know each other pretty well. I know his family. And so we are sort of rekindling the friendship, so to speak, continuing the conversation here in public. And I can also say to everyone out there, hello world, because this is the first time I've ever done anything like this. I've never been interviewed, never spoken in front of a camera that was being recorded, only live chats with friends. So I'm very interested to see what we're going to get into here. And
Yeah.
I don't even know if we have a topic for today, do we? What are we going to talk about?
Uh,
I know that we do plan for this to be fast and loose and
yeah.
spontaneous, but what have you
Yeah.
got for us, Vishak? Anything?
So it's very interesting, Eric. You would be extremely thrilled to know that this is right out of the potential book that is, coming from your mind. And I'm
Haha.
like, I had an initial go through of the book, and I felt like there are a lot of points that maybe we can use that, our structure. And then from there, we can go into tangential areas. We can discuss a lot of things that will give us a lot of insight. And ultimately, that's my idea, to explore as much as possible the human condition, the human psyche, the experiences that we have, and try and make a little sense of what is going on around us. So that's the whole idea, and I think um, that's that's my plan, Eric. What do you think? I mean,
Okay,
should we like?
I think that's great. I think that's
Mm,
a great starting point. And in fact, before this was all your idea, before you thought of
mm.
this podcast, I was thinking about doing my own solo project
Right.
to discuss this book. It's I
Yeah.
don't know if it's a book, this document.
Yeah.
Um, not quite line by line, but topic by topic, because there's so much to discuss in it. So
Yeah.
I think this is better. I've never spoken in front of a camera before. I would much rather do this as a dialogue, and I don't want this to just be self-generating. I mean, I'm
Mm,
going to explain what this book is all about in a moment, because it's not what you're thinking if you're hearing this. It's a special sort of a thing because
mm.
of the nature of it. But I would much rather get out of my own head, so to speak, and discuss it with another human being. I'm also not a bot, if I need to say that. I'm real. I'm here, and um, I think this would be the perfect place to start this series. And of course, it can go anywhere from here, but there's a lot of material in this where we can begin.
Yeah.
So at some point, I have to explain what this thing is, or before we jump in, don't I?
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
That's I would love for you to kind of give a brief, this thing into how this came about, because I don't want to call it a book, like you mentioned. It's something else. It's something that it spoke to me, and I'm sure it kind would speak to a lot of other people also. So, for a lack of a better word, it's a significant thing, right? It's something that is a tool, or yeah, I guess I can call it as a tool, but it's so much more than a tool also. But yeah, I'd like to know from you if you can give a little insight into how this came about, and what prompted you to kind of come up with this, or generate something like this.
Right. Right. So let me try to explain. This this all happened last year, about 6 months ago. Um, I It was born of desperation, to be quite
Mm,
honest. I was very, very in trouble with my health at that moment, which happens with me. I'm not in a stable health situation even now, unfortunately, and it's basically I've how's my audio? I'm looking at the levels. They seem to be just about
it's very good.
maxing out. Is it okay? Okay.
Audio is good.
Okay. I want this to be heard very clearly. Um, and I think we should refer people back, if they discover this podcast, if it does continue
Mm,
on, to come back to this episode to get really an understanding of where we're coming from. Where I'm
right.
coming from is that I have literally been in a health crisis since 1996, since around March 1996. And I was just out of college, just about to start up my life, so to speak, after 6 years of college. And then here, there I was. Suddenly everything just stopped for me.
Mm,
So to try to put this into context for someone listening, just think of COVID. That was a
mm,
crisis. That was a global
mm,
crisis. And so when I say I've been in a health crisis since that time, I'm not joking. I'm saying that I've been living through something like that on my own personal level,
mm.
with many ups and downs, of course. And but it's a serious situation, and I was really feeling like I needed a drastic step to change
Mm,
something
mm.
about 6 or 7 months ago. And I decided to do an exercise that has been prescribed by Bashar, the channel Bashar,
Sure.
which I
Yeah.
which I had done in the yeah. Some people might not know Bashar, but he's a channeled by Daryl Anka. since way back, since the early 80s, I think, mid 80s.
Very famous,
And
actually. Yeah.
yes, yes. Anyways, um, I had done this exercise before. It's an exercise to unstuck yourself from
Mm,
a very difficult situation. And I should be looking
mm.
at the camera. I'm looking at myself talk. This is how I'm orienting myself now. Okay,
Yeah.
let
That
me look
happens.
at you out there, dear viewers. So I'd done this exercise before. It really helped me to get out of a bind. I believed in it. And I thought, well, let's do it. It's a daily exercise that you do between 30 and 90 days.
Mm,
And this time, I set the intention to heal my nervous system because I have a myriad of health issues, more than I can name or count, more than I can remember. But the underlying factors all seem to be nervous system and going back to childhood trauma. Right. So I thought, okay, it's time to heal the nervous system because if I don't, just the weight of everything else is going to drag me down to some place I'm probably not going to escape from. So it felt like a kind of a do or die scenario.
mm.
And this can be very helpful in healing because this is where change happens.
Yeah.
There's a friction and there's an electrical current running through the situation. So um, I thought this time I'm going to design this a little bit differently. What I'm going
Okay.
to do, typically when I meditate, I've been trained in a certain simple technique called insight meditation.
Mm.
It's one of, I'm sure, many different things that have been called
Forms.
insight meditation. But in this case, you you just you still the mind and then you wait for any message that might come through, any sort of
Wow.
audio message. And I've been able to do this over the years of many years of practice. It's not been difficult. I've done
Mm,
it. And so I thought for this time, I want to tap into my higher self and get guidance on how to heal my nervous system. And so I started up. It went very slowly at first. The first couple messages were just, "You're doing fine. Just relax. This is going to work. Don't worry about anything." Just a couple of sentences. And
mm.
I realized that if I type all of this in as it comes through me, then I can have this record. And I really didn't know where it was going to go. But in the end, I got 90 days. One day nothing came through, but I got 89 days of proper messages coming through from,
So, Eric,
yes,
how, sorry for interrupting, but
no, no.
how do these messages come? I mean, how do you feel them? Do you hear them? Or how do you get these messages?
Uh, I hear them from
Mm,
silence, from a very deep silence. This only works for me when I'm able to tap into an utter stillness.
stillness.
But I'm able to do that at almost any point in the day that I need to
Mm,
because I've been
mm,
practicing, I've been training myself how to do this. It's part of my healing journey is
mm,
especially with the nervous system, I suppose, or something very deep like that,
mm,
tuning into the body, listening to the body, because the body itself will give messages. You
mm,
know, might feel some
mm,
pain in my shoulder. I've never felt, what's this? Silence speaks. From silence comes
mm,
the answer.
mm.
By really feeling the pain in my shoulder, that's where it will come through. Now, in this
Right.
case, I did the exercise as prescribed by Bashar, takes just a few minutes,
Mm-hmm.
and that just clears the mind and it opens the person to receiving. in new
Mm.
ways. So it
Right.
opens us up to the universe, and then things are able to come that might not necessarily come without doing this exercise. So in that sense, so that's the basic framework. But and it really is that simple. But
So,
to
for
answer your
those,
question,
yeah,
I hear a voice. I hear a voice, and I know
and
what it
for
is.
and for those 89 days you heard this voice and you were able to get the message. Is this a unique phenomenon? Have you ever had this before, or was it only these 89 days where you heard this voice, you heard this content and it
Right,
you
right.
felt like you had to write it down or put it down?
No, no, I've heard this voice before. This is the
Mm,
voice of my higher self, and I'm
mm,
quite clear on this.
mm,
Uh, I I have the ability of clairaudience, which
mm.
means I have the special ability to hear things
Here, yeah,
and sometimes to know things where I just know.
clairvoyance.
And I know
Mm,
that I know. Yeah,
mm,
clairvoyance. This is clairaudience.
clairvoyance.
And
Mm,
so I've been in communication with the spirit realm
mm,
on certain
mm,
occasions with various different entities that I know of, and that I know I'm getting a clear message connection with, because I know a bit about this. It is possible. It is certainly possible to fool ourselves,
mm.
and to be just listening to our own imagination,
The
or
mind plays tricks,
right,
so we can,
right,
yeah.
or an
Which actually
entity,
leads me. Sorry, go ahead, go ahead. I
or
heard
an
you.
entity that isn't necessarily helpful to us.
Mm,
So
mm,
I don't play around with this. This is not a toy.
mm,
But
mm,
it goes back to I did a healing retreat once about 10 years ago, I guess. Yeah, that
mm,
um, the main focus of the retreat was to get in touch with our higher self.
mm,
And I mean, for me, it did come through, but for me, it came through in the shape of a voice
mm,
that was mine, that I knew was mine, and not just mine, but it was me. I mean, because the
mm,
higher self is me. It's another
mm,
aspect of myself.
mm,
And I understand it to be the aspect of myself that is what comes through when the clutter or the noise of the ego has been removed.
mm,
So if I need to drop into it right now, for example, I can do that if I
mm,
can remove that clutter, the mental
mm.
clutter, the
The
chatter
noise.
of the mind, yeah, the monkey mind's chatter,
Mm,
the noise, that tends to run in the background in all of our experience. So I can do that for a moment if I need to,
mm,
and this has been my guide ever since. If I really need to make a decision, I'll just tune into myself. And even if I don't get a voice coming through, because it's not infallible, it doesn't always work. At least I have grounded and centered myself and become
mm,
calm within myself. And
mm.
that's the space from which to proceed in any sort of conundrum, or any
Right.
sort of
Totally,
decision. Yeah,
totally, totally.
right. So
Was it always available to you?
um, no, not at all. Not at all.
Okay.
And I had a difficulty in this retreat making
Mm,
contact with it.
mm,
There was difficulty. So I have noticed, though, looking back, that I have received messages,
mm,
throughout my childhood and earlier times, that I just didn't really understand where they were coming from. And
mm.
maybe this is a good point to say that I don't hear voices. And I,
Let's make that very
I,
clear, people.
yeah, let's be clear what we're talking about here. I don't hear voices and wonder, oh, what's going on, That's never been the case. No. So all of this has been crystal clear. My higher
Mm,
self is, this voice is known to me, and it comes to me when I need it, when I ask for it, and not every time, and still not every time, but as needed. at this point.
Let's just dive into a little bit into the higher self, as you call it. Now, I know, I mean, I can relate to that because I know the moment you say higher self, I know what it means in my head, even though I cannot probably put it into, discrete words and explain it. But what does it mean for a human being to have a higher self, according to you?
Uh, I
If you
would,
can try, I know it's
well,
very
yeah,
difficult. It's
I
it's
don't
a
know. I don't know if I'm
mm,
qualified to answer such a question, but my sense of it, having worked
mm,
with this, is that it's it seems to be a more essential part of ourselves.
yeah,
And I would hesitate to call it the soul
mm,
because that word in my
has been used and abused.
I'm from the Christian world. I'm from the
Mm,
West, where
mm,
that word has been so used and abused that I wouldn't blame anyone for having a very bad reaction to someone using that
yeah,
word. So I
yeah,
tend to avoid it myself. I don't like that
yeah,
word too much. But
yeah.
what does the word soul mean? I mean, beyond the etymology, it means essence, doesn't it? And
Essence. Yeah.
I feel like, I don't think we would lose anyone if we started talking about the higher and lower natures of
Mm,
ourselves.
mm,
The animal nature, which has animal
mm,
needs,
mm.
and those are important and those are to be respected because if we don't eat, we will
You
die.
die.
If we don't
Yeah.
drink, if we don't breathe, all of this is part of the animal organism, which is a constitute part of myself. But
Right.
as well, there are aspects of myself which are invisible, which only come through in certain crucial times,
Mm,
and for example, a crisis or
mm,
some sort of a peak moment. I grew up
mm,
playing sports and I felt so connected to my body. Funny enough, because I really lost that connection around
mm.
I'd say around age 13. And by 14,
Wow.
I had to give up the sports that I was,
Mm.
really enjoying playing.
Liking. Yeah.
So yeah, so this is when the nervous system really started to collapse on me. But uh, So in the sports,
Mm,
I was existing in this state of flow. And I
mm.
feel like this flow state is where everything is connected. The mind, body, spirit are just
Yeah.
one, and it's
Yeah.
all working. It's all working
Yeah.
together. And you know it when you're in it because there's just no questioning it. And after um, I studied art in college and
Mm,
I became a creative type person. And I found I was tapping into a similar flow state just without the body
mm,
so much.
mm.
But of course, I found it does go better if I'm more physically aligned,
Mm,
if you so to speak, if my nervous
mm,
system's a bit tight, if I'm not
mm,
feeling lightheaded or dizzy, obviously,
mm,
just to state the obvious, if you've got a
mm.
headache, you're going to very have a very difficult time feeling connected with much of anything.
Correct.
And
Correct.
one of my key steps in all of this was grounding. I needed to
Mm,
really learn how to ground myself,
mm,
and that was a journey in itself. But this sort of flow state, what are we talking about? So we're talking about we've got the standard level of consciousness,
mm,
which we're all aware of now. I'd say at the moment my consciousness is a little bit heightened because I'm speaking in front of a camera for the first time in
mm.
my life, being recorded. This feels a little bit special. And
It's a
so
strange situation. It's a
it is a
unusual
bit
situation.
strange. Yeah, it is a bit
Yeah.
strange, and I'm feeling pretty relaxed.
Mm,
Um, it's fine, but and it's good because it's keeping me sharp and it's keeping my mind
mm,
clear. I do
mm,
have some cognitive issues. I could start to glitch at some point, and maybe even stutter. But it's all working. So, there's this band of consciousness that we're typically aware of. And maybe this is a really, really good day when everything's working, and this is just can't get
The
out of
other
bed.
end of the
Don't
spectrum.
want to, yeah,
Yeah,
the other end. Don't want to deal with anything, heavy
yeah,
depression or whatever. Your dog just died or
right.
something like that.
Yeah,
Or your mother died or something terrible.
yeah.
And
Could be a
then,
trigger, any
but
trigger.
but
Yeah.
this is what we're aware of. And
Mm,
then, of course, there's a much larger spectrum of what's available. And
yeah,
I'd like to take this opportunity in really introducing myself to say that I feel that what this strange life of mine has really been about is exploring as much of the spectrum as is absolutely possible, from the top to the bottom. And I kind of remind myself of Dr. John Lilly, who is into this
mm,
and really mapping out
mm,
all these different levels of consciousness. And this makes so much sense to me because, I thought I knew where that bottom rung was until I got
there's so much
older and
more.
got really deep into some health crises,
Mm,
and things that felt like they were maybe a stroke or even a heart
mm,
attack.
mm.
That's when you really, really, really bottom out and find out that there are a lot of levels that we aren't
A lot
aware
of
of,
levels there.
but in
Yeah,
both directions,
yeah.
and per probably, slash perhaps, because I'm capable of such lows, I'm also capable of such highs. But my life now, looking back on it with 50 plus years to reflect, it does feel as though I'm exploring this whole spectrum as much as I possibly can to see all the different levels that are available to humans. And
Yeah,
I feel that, at least for me, it's helpful to keep that sort of perspective on things, because um, it can be very easy to identify with, for me to identify with some of these lower states, some of these lower
lower
realms.
states.
I'm
Mm,
very much in the moment. And
mm,
I know that's what a lot of people in the spiritual community aspire towards. Well, I live there, and that's
mm.
great when everything is fine. And when things are not fine, it can be very difficult because it feels as though it's going to be forever.
That's the
Really,
true
like it's
test,
going to
right?
be forever. Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah, that's the
So,
true test.
so that is a bit of a perspective.
No, thank you so much for sharing that, Eric. In fact, I was wondering how do I how do I explain why we came up with the title of this series as Musings at the Edge of Consciousness, and what you just said right now, it just hits the nail right on the head. I mean, we are
Okay,
covering all those spectrums of, consciousness which we are not really aware of. It's there, it's part of our lives, but it's not really,
right.
we're not aware of it. And probably that's the reason for this particular series, is to dwell into that more. And like you just mentioned, maybe there are people out there who go through similar circumstances and experiences, and maybe hearing this from you would give them a little ray of hope, a little bit of, perspective shift, to see that what we are living within that, just this much that you mentioned, this is not it. This is not the only thing
No,
in life.
no.
There's so much more. So,
Right,
yeah, thank you so much
right,
for
right.
sharing that.
Well, yeah, yeah. Well, thank you. But I'd like to remind you that you're the one who came up with the name of this series.
By the end of the series, I don't know if there's going to be an end to this series, but I think once we get into it, we'll know that is any of us really responsible for the things that we are doing?
Okay,
Are,
fair
or are
enough.
they happening on there? So we don't know. Let's
Fair
see.
enough. Fair enough. But I
Yeah,
I love I love the name of the series. That when you said it, I thought, oh, that's perfect. That's just
yeah,
perfect. And we're
yeah,
we're talking about the edge here, and
yeah.
so the edge um, suggests to me a middle,
Mm,
or a center, or a sphere of what's known. And I
mm,
think what we're talking about here is that we tend to live our lives within a certain little bubble of consciousness, which we define as our reality.
yeah,
And and our social programming and our individual psychology has been sort of tailored around the idea that this is where we're supposed to be, right? And so we're not supposed to mess with things like hypnosis and mind altering chemicals or
drugs.
plant substances, anything like that. Alcohol has been tremendous taboo in throughout world history, and
Yeah.
anything that changes consciousness is a potential threat. Going all the way
Mm,
back to Adam and Eve, right? The
mm.
original drug bust, as Terence McKenna
Yeah.
has described, the original drug bust. Yeah. Uh-huh. Right. So it seems like what we have to explore here, you and I, is the edges of all this where
Mm.
things get kind of
Boundaries.
interesting. And
Yeah.
this feels timely to me because I mean maybe 20 years ago, life, most people considered life to be going on as normal, and you just try to
Mm.
keep to the path, keep looking straight ahead, and everything's basically okay as far as you know. But the world isn't like this right now, is it? Everything has
No.
been turned on its side, and it feels as though everyone's living through some sort of a crisis right now, to
Correct.
some
Correct.
extent, to some extent.
Yeah.
Not to
Yeah.
put anybody down or to, discount anyone who's not. Good for you. That's great. But I think any audience we're going to draw to a series like this is going to be the type of person who's looking to expand their ideas of what is,
Awareness.
of what's
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah.
Awareness, yeah, just raw awareness, the raw awareness of,
And learning, right? I mean, I think a lot has got to do with how we learn and, how we absorb, especially in these really tight, icky situations that we find ourselves in lives. That's where learning happens. And a lot of that has got to do with, life is, sometimes I believe that the core purpose of life itself is to learn. And what is it that we are learning? Not really clear, but as we go forward, it gets little clearer, but not entirely there. So I guess that's the whole purpose of it. And this whole series also for me is kind of like a learning experience where, I want to know more about myself, know more about the reality that I inhabit, know more about, why things are the way they are, because I guess ultimately that knowledge would free me, because right now it's the same knowledge which is keeping me bound also to whatever reality that I have. So I'm hoping that the knowledge would cure what knowledge already kind of brought about as a problem. So yeah, I mean, I'm really happy for the series, Eric, and I hope we can cover a lot. And like I mentioned, we'll be using your um the pamphlet. Can I say that? I mean, I think we should do a
yeah,
reveal
let's
over here.
let's let's call it the pamphlet. Yeah, and let me say something about this pamphlet, okay? So I I follow several podcasts. Aha, now we have a visual. Okay.
Yes.
So here it is. Here's the pamphlet. And so what I want to say about this is that I follow several podcasts in the in the category of spirituality. Not self-help. I'm not really into self-help, but spirituality, healing, and uh, and maybe a couple other topics. But what I've noticed is usually there's somebody selling a book.
Mm, mm,
Someone goes onto a podcast to introduce themselves, to talk about the book that they just wrote, and try to sell the book. Now,
yeah.
the thing about this is it's not a book, it's a pamphlet.
No.
I call it a
Mm,
pamphlet because it doesn't feel like a book, although it's what is it? It's 55 pages with the introduction, and the introduction is important. It's a bit in
Very
depth too
important.
because it is important because it describes what's going on here. But now this book is not for sale. You can't buy it.
Yeah, you
We're
can't
giving
buy
it
it.
away.
No.
I'm giving it for free, and we're going to make it available through a link so that anyone can download it. And
Yeah.
now I didn't write it. I would not want to be taking credit for such a thing. I do not feel that I wrote it. I feel that it came from me, but it is not of me.
Mm.
In a similar sense that Khalil Gibran said, we are. We are from our parents. We are not of our parents.
Our parents. Yeah.
Okay, so I do not feel that this is my book to sell. I would feel very strange about accepting any money for it. So it's going to be available somehow. We'll figure out like some
We'll
sort of
figure it
a
out.
way to download it. You can figure that one out. You're more technically savvy than I am, but we'll figure this out. It'll be available.
Yeah.
And we'll be discussing this thing as we go along, I'm sure. And I
Yeah.
might, and if there is an interest, I might make like a parallel series where I read each section and then give
Mm.
commentary on it. These sections are not very
Mm.
long. This whole thing can be read in about 2 hours. I had my computer read it to me several times as I was editing to make sure that it was all right. But
But
this.
we urge you to not do it in 2 hours. In fact, I can attest to the fact that no, you can't. It's
No, no, no.
very reflective.
Don't you. I don't think you'll want to try. You'll get bogged down at some point.
Yeah.
It's not that it's heavy. I don't know. Maybe it's heavy and dense, but what it is. I suppose it's spirit talking to me directly
Mm.
through the medium of the higher self. And
Mm.
so I want to emphasize this because I feel that these messages are of spirit. And I got 89 different messages, which I am only using, uh, I think 40, however many, how many? 55. I'm using
55.
55 of these um, because they're more general and because they
Mm.
pertain to much more than just me. And what I noticed at some point, the way these messages came through to me, um, I did not ask questions at the beginning of these.
Mm.
Only once or twice throughout the whole thing did I ask a question and there was an actual dialogue.
Mm.
This was coming to me directly for my benefit. But
Mm.
it would start with a sort of a, well, as I got deeper into it, it would just start as a sort of a lecture on the nature of some topic or another. And
Okay.
it was so general. It was for my own understanding of the way things were. And then it would go into, and this is how you should understand this. And this is how, this is how you can work with this in
Yeah.
yourself. So a lot of this was really just sort of expository, just sort of general stuff. And that's why I decided to edit out from these notes something that could perhaps serve a more general purpose to other people. And so as you know, in keeping with this, I did have to change the wording
Mm.
in order for it to not just be coming to me. I had to change pronouns and I had to change sentences
Mm.
around.
Mm.
And when this began, I felt rather self-conscious about it because I thought, well, this is not my writing. I didn't
Jam.
originate this. Who am I to change the wording? So when I had that thought, when I was looking at something like, oh, I really need to change the sentence, the very beginning of this, as soon as I had that thought, I heard the voice came to me and it said, it's okay. Just follow
Mm.
my guide and
Mm.
it'll be done. So
Mm.
with that guidance, added to this and I changed it to the extent of maybe 20%. But
Okay.
I still don't feel that I'm the author of it. I feel that this
Mm,
came through me.
mm,
It's not me. It's not me.
mm,
So
mm,
that's just to make all of this clear. This is sort of
mm,
the disclaimer. Um, I didn't say these things, and
mm.
there are a couple sentences in it that I still don't fully comprehend, even though I've been puzzling
I
on them for three
I
months.
had the exact same experience, Eric. In fact, with some of those sentences in there, they're so profound that I feel like I'm getting it at a very deep level, but I'm not getting it also. I get this kind of a feeling.
Then we
So
can
it
discuss.
we will. That's the whole
Let's
idea of the series.
discuss
So
because there
yeah.
are some really radical ideas there. I mean, I'm
Mm,
reasonably well read in classical spiritual literature, you know. I mean, I heard things come through my fingertips, as I was typing them. I'm just going, wow, oh
wow.
my. And another thing to say, I'm a bit of a writer. I've not published, but I write for myself, and
I can attest to that.
I have a little blog. You can attest to the fact I haven't published. Thank you. No, no, I'm working
No,
on
no.
that, but slowly.
Yeah.
So, anyways, the writer in me was taking this dictation, and it was going slowly. It would go slow and steady, and I could stop it. I could drink tea while I'm doing this. It was just a
Mm,
very relaxed state. Before the sun came up, about
mm,
5 in the morning, 5:30 in the morning,
mm,
I would do this
mm,
when everything was calm and still. And so sometimes the sentence would start, and this was infallible. It was very rare I
mm,
would have to change a word later,
mm,
but it is possible because I want to make this point that apparently in channeling, what is actually coming through is not words. It's
mm.
vibrations. It's very, very, very subtle, specific
Subtle.
vibrations that our human mind will then, because we're so hardwired for language.
Hardwired to
You
this
know,
reality. Language. Yeah.
yes, language. We kind of live language in a way,
Correct.
in a very real sense, even,
Yeah.
and our thoughts do determine our reality to a
Correct.
great extent.
Wittgenstein, right? The philosopher Wittgenstein. He was the one who said the limits of
Uh,
language are the limits of our reality or the universe. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, but also I think George Lucas said watch your thoughts because they determine your destiny or something like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So right. Um so sometimes the word was not quite right. It
Mm,
just wasn't quite the right
mm,
word.
mm.
And of course this is limited to my own personal vocabulary.
Right.
That is a
Right.
limitation of all channeling.
Yeah.
Even with Bashar and Darrell Anka talked about this.
Yeah.
But anyways, what the point I want to make is that um, sometimes the writer Eric was typing this sentence that was just so confounding to his brain
The
that he's
reader,
going,
Eric.
wow, this is so interesting and strange. But where could this
While you're
sentence
writing.
possibly go? Where could this possibly go? Because the sentences were infallible. There were no wrong sentences. There were a little bit
Yeah.
wrong words, but maybe two or three the whole time.
Yeah.
Maybe 5 or 10. But
I didn't feel that at all. I thought the
well, I,
words
I
were like
tweaked it. I tweaked it
tweaked
all.
it.
I've made it as perfect as possible. But I mean, as this is coming through, because this was
Mm,
raw.
mm,
So 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 I'm watching this sentence form and going, there's no way that this sentence can conclude.
mm.
But that's my limited mind analyzing it. And
Mind
then I'm
saying,
just watching this sentence come to this beautiful fruition of the idea like landing. And I'm like, wow,
wow,
wow, that's
that's a flow
incredible.
state.
That
That's a
that
flow
is,
state.
well, I don't know. I mean, that wasn't even that's the flow
Mm,
state, not my flow state. That is
the
spirit.
ultimate flow
Spirit,
state.
spirit is not limited. And yeah, we'll get into this, no doubt.
We'll
But
get into
but
it.
to, to,
Yeah.
to me, to me, the bigger point in all of this is that there are no limitations really. The limitations of this consensual reality are based
On
on our
our
own
mind.
thoughts. Yeah, on our own mind. Yes, yes. And that's probably going to be the theme of this series, isn't it? You
Yeah.
know, how do
Musings
and
at the
how,
edge of consciousness. Yeah.
very good. Good title. Good title. And so so we'll explore those edges and we'll see what
What
and
comes out of
hopefully
it?
we hopefully we can discover some of the limitations that
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
affecting all of us, you know,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
growth is overcoming obstacles and realizing our own
Becoming aware of,
limitations, I suppose.
yeah,
Yeah.
limitations. True, true. Well,
So
I
I'm
think this was a brilliant, introduction and setting up the stage for, which what I think would be like so many series. I think at least 55 if we were to talk about all the 55, the sections within the pamphlet. But I'm pretty sure some of those sections or little nuggets are gonna go into maybe two or three or four um, sessions like these. So I don't know.
maybe
I'm really excited. I think this was a brilliant session, and
good.
Eric, thank you so much. I think this is gonna go well. I was really nervous with how this first session is gonna go, but I think it was beautiful. So
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to the next one. How
Good,
about
thank
you?
you. I like how this came off. I feel very comfortable talking to you and talking to you out there.
Yeah,
I'm just interested to see where this will go. I've been
yeah,
contemplating exploring new mediums of
mm,
expression. And it seems like I do know how to talk a little bit. You know, I feel like this has worked pretty well. So
yeah,
yeah, no, I'm very happy about this. And I'm noticing that we've been on for an hour and a minute. So
yeah.
maybe, I mean, I don't think we should limit ourselves in time, you know, at all.
Right,
And
right.
there will be no sponsor to this. This will be purely us. This will be
Yeah,
organic. It will be
yeah,
from our hearts and and you know, let's certainly not limit ourselves to this book, of course, this pamphlet. Let's not do that. Let's just take it as it goes. I don't even need to know the topic before we start. I don't mind. I can speak to anything in this text. I'm ready. I spent a lot of time editing it. I know it front and back, and I don't, you know, I mean, you can contact me beforehand
yeah,
if I
yeah,
need to prepare
yeah.
something, but I'm fine with all that. And
No, I
you
think
know,
it's gonna
and I
go well.
don't think we're
Yeah.
gonna run. I don't think we're gonna run out of topics. And if we get
No.
if we get followers, if we get a following, we can start to ask. I'm sure people will offer topics that we can discuss. You know.
That's the idea. That's what I was also thinking. So,
Yeah.
by now, I think the viewers would also know that we are also kind of learning the ropes through this, and we are also kind of experimenting and seeing, what we can put out there. And as part of that, we are gonna welcome comments. We are gonna welcome feedback and whatever it is that you're gonna be thinking about, you, the viewers, and be very happy once we set up the community, once we set up a page. Reach out to us, send us your comments, send us topics that you would
Yes.
probably think of, lying at the edge of consciousness, as we would say. And yeah, we would be very happy to discuss on that and see, what we can learn from it. So yeah, that's the
Sure.
idea.
Yeah, good. I think one of the features of this thing is probably going to be some of the stranger experiences I've had because I've had a lot of them and they are good. They're good. I think they're pretty fascinating to anybody who would find any of this interesting enough to follow us. Right. So I'm
Oh,
looking forward
trust
to
me.
that too. Story time, story
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
Okay. Thank you,
yeah.
Vishak. This has been inspiring and
Thanks, Eric.
a good
It's
start.
been amazing. Yeah, it's a really good start and really looking forward to the next one. All right.
Good. Well, we'll do that.
So I will stop recording over here.